That new couch you bought 6 months ago is still off-gassing chemicals into the air you breathe every night. You can't smell it anymore. The smell faded after 2 weeks, and you stopped thinking about it. But formaldehyde, benzene, toluene, the compounds in composite wood furniture, in new flooring, in fresh paint, they don't stop releasing when you stop smelling them. They off-gas for months, sometimes years. At concentrations too low to register consciously, but high enough to accumulate in a sealed room over time. The EPA has documented indoor air being 2 to 5 times more polluted than outdoor air. In newer homes built for energy efficiency, tightly sealed, well-insulated, that number goes higher. You're not breathing outdoor air inside. You're breathing a chemical environment that's been building since you moved in, shaped by everything you've brought into the space. Your furniture, your flooring, your paint, your cleaning products. And something in your home has been reacting to that accumulation the entire time. Look at your spider plant, the one probably sitting near the bookshelf or on a desk or in the corner of the living room where you put the new couch. Look specifically at the tips, not the gradual creeping brown from hard water which builds slowly over months. This is different. Multiple tips browning at once, suddenly, with a slight yellowing at the base of the damage. That's chemical stress, not mineral accumulation. The timeline tells you. It appeared weeks after the new furniture arrived, not gradually over a year. The spider plant didn't get sick. It's sitting in elevated VOC concentration and showing you where in your home the chemistry is most active. The exact spot where you sit every evening. The exact air your lungs are working in while you watch TV and think you're relaxing. Here's the experiment that makes this concrete. Spider plants produce offshoots, small plantlets on long runners. Take one and place it in a glass of water 3 feet from the new furniture. Take another and put it across the room, near a window. Same light, same water, same room. Come back in 4 weeks and look at the root development. The one sitting in the higher VOC zone will have slower, sparser root growth, brownish tint to the roots rather than white. The one near the window will look cleaner, denser, more vigorous. You're not guessing anymore. You're watching 2 identical plants develop differently in the same room because the air is not the same across that room. The plant near the couch is processing a different chemical environment than the plant near the window. And you've been sitting on that couch every night, closer to the source than either plant. The NASA clean air research from the 1980s got overstated over the years. One spider plant is not going to meaningfully purify your living room. But what that research actually documented is still useful. Spider plants show measurable physiological stress responses to VOC exposure. Not dramatic collapse, suppression. Reduced growth efficiency, slightly muted color, tips that burn when the load gets high enough. That suppression is the signal. Your plant isn't struggling, it's measuring. And the measurement has been sitting in your living room the whole time you've been wondering why you feel vaguely off after spending an evening at home. You thought the smell was gone. The plant knew it wasn't. Now walk to your bathroom, or the corner of your bedroom where the air barely moves. Find your peace lily. Look at the older leaves, the lowest ones, the ones that have been sitting in that spot the longest. Dark patches on the surface, not browning from dryness, not the crispy tips from the first episode. Dark, irregular, almost like the tissue underneath has started breaking down in place. Soft at the edges where it meets healthy tissue, not sharp. Here's what those patches are telling you. Peace lilies evolved on tropical forest floors. High humidity, low airflow, rich organic matter. They tolerate those conditions better than almost any other houseplant. But there's a threshold. When ambient humidity stays consistently above 60% and airflow stays consistently poor, they start showing fungal stress on the oldest, most exposed tissue. Those are exactly the two conditions that allow mold to establish on your walls, under your floor, behind your cabinet. The peace lily is not growing mold, but it's sitting in the same air, responding to the same conditions, and showing the stress before your walls show anything at all. Think about when mold typically gets discovered in an American home. Someone notices a smell, or a small dark spot appears on the grout, or in the corner where the wall meets the ceiling. By that point, it's been growing for weeks, sometimes months. The conditions that allowed it to establish were present long before the first visible sign. Elevated humidity, poor air movement, a surface that stays slightly damp. Those conditions don't appear overnight. The peace lily has been sitting in your bathroom or your low airflow corner this whole time, responding to those exact conditions in its leaf tissue, giving you a visible indicator that precedes the wall damage by weeks. Put your hand flat against the wall closest to it. Hold it there for 20 seconds. If the wall feels noticeably cooler than the air, and in rooms with poor circulation it often does, that temperature differential is where condensation forms invisibly on the surface. Not enough to see, enough for mold spores, which are always present in indoor air, to find a foothold. The peace lily is sitting 3 feet from that wall. Its dark patches are a spatial indicator, not just that conditions are elevated, but roughly where in the room the risk is concentrated. Most people never think of mold as something that comes with advance warning. The peace lily has been running that warning system the entire time it's been in that corner. You just needed someone to tell you what the dark patches meant. Last one, and this one is the most personal. You've been waking up tired. Not every day, but enough days that you've noticed a pattern. You've tried going to bed earlier, cutting screens after 9, the magnesium glycinate everyone recommends. Some nights it helps, some nights it doesn't, and by 10 a.m. you're already running on something that doesn't feel like actual rest. You've started to wonder if this is just what getting older feels like. It might not be age. It might be the air in the room where you sleep. Go look at your snake plant, the one in your bedroom, the one someone told you to put there because it releases oxygen at night, which is true, through a metabolic process called CAM photosynthesis that allows it to take in CO2 and release oxygen during dark hours rather than daylight. But that's not the most useful thing your snake plant is telling you. Look at the new leaves from the past 6 months. Compare them to the older leaves that grew a year or two ago. Are the new ones upright, firm, deeply coloured, coming in dense and structured? Or are they thinner than they used to be, slightly lighter and, this is the one to look for, leaning? Not falling over, just a persistent, consistent lean toward one specific part of the room. Here's what's happening in your bedroom while you sleep. You exhale CO2 continuously through the night. A sealed room with one sleeping adult will rise from the outdoor baseline of roughly 400 parts per million to somewhere between 1,500 and 2,500 parts per million by morning, depending on room size and how well sealed it is. At 1,000 parts per million, cognitive function measurably declines. At 1,500, your sleep architecture starts breaking down. You cycle through sleep stages less efficiently, spend less time in deep sleep, surface more frequently without fully waking. You lie in bed for 8 hours and wake up feeling like you slept 5. This is not a theory. It's been documented in sleep research consistently. CO2 accumulation in sealed sleeping environments is one of the most underleveraged explanations for poor sleep quality in otherwise healthy adults. And almost nobody is checking for it. Your snake plant has been growing in that room every night. The thin, slightly pale, persistently leaning new growth is what chronic low air exchange looks like, expressed in plant tissue. The direction it leans is the direction your freshest air enters from. If it's pointing toward the door rather than the window, your window is not contributing meaningfully to air exchange in that room at night. The primary fresh air source is the gap under your door, and that gap is not enough. The CO2 you exhaled at 11 p.m. was still in that room at 3 a.m. The air you were breathing at 6 a.m. was the same air that had been sealed in with you all night, progressively depleted, increasingly concentrated with what you'd been exhaling for 7 hours. You acclimated to it gradually, the way you acclimate to any constant. You stopped noticing. The snake plant didn't stop noticing. It's been growing in that air and recording its quality in the only way it can, in the structure and direction of every new leaf it's put out since you moved it into that room. Tonight, open the window 2 inches before you sleep. Just 2. In the morning, before you look at your phone, before you make coffee, notice one thing. Does the room smell different when you wake up? Fresher? Less thick? Less like the inside of somewhere that's been sealed all night? If it does, that's what you've been sleeping in. Every night. For however long that window has been closed. 3 plants. 3 rooms. 3 things your home has been doing to you without your knowledge. The VOCs from the furniture you saved up for accumulating in the room where you spend your evenings. The mold conditions building quietly in the corner you never think about, weeks ahead of anything visible. The CO2 rising through the night in the room where you're supposed to recover from everything the day took from you. None of this requires a sensor array or an air quality monitor or a specialist walking through your home. It requires looking at what's already in your rooms and understanding what it's been trying to show you this whole time. Your home has been generating data about itself every single day. These plants have been reading it, processing it, expressing it in their growth and their damage, and the direction they lean. You just needed to know what you were looking at. You do now.